Hello and welcome to episode 8 of HibsTalk Extra Time. This week myself and Liam discussed the Hearts game on Tuesday night and also looked ahead to the St.Mirren game this coming Saturday. We discussed things such as Kevin Dabrowski making his first team debut for the club and also how we feel that the players performed after a few sketchy results. Gavin and the guys will be back over the course of the weekend to review the St Mirren game and also look ahead to the Rangers game next week. In the meantime, we've also got a podcast out at the moment with author Colin Leslie. Gavin Stewart sat down with Colin to go through his book, Bestie to Beastie to Belgium. So if you get a chance, go and check that out. As always, follow us on social media on all our usual places. HibsTalk on Facebook, at HFC Talk on Twitter and Instagram, and also remember to subscribe wherever you get your podcast to make sure that you get your new episodes as they're uploaded. Thanks again for listening and enjoy the show. Here we are, episode 8, HibsTalk Extra Time, with myself, Craig and Liam as we pick through the bones of the Hearts game on Tuesday and also looking ahead to the St Mirren game on Saturday. Liam, first of all, mate, how are you? You feeling all right?
Very well, mate. Just getting over the hangover from yesterday. But no, I'm feeling good, mate. Feeling ready, prepared to talk about the game on Tuesday night. How about yourself, mate?
I am all right. Nice, easy day at the graft. Better not let my gaffer hear that, I suppose. That's fine. She'll not listen to this. But I know I'm feeling all right. Feeling good. Obviously, good, I don't. Mate. Just to sort of, we didn't want to seem like we're ignoring it, but I don't think it's appropriate for us to comment on the Goodwillie situation. I think as an individual, not taking it into football, I think the decision that Raith made to sign him was abhorrent in the first place. They've seen their senses now, but for me, it's came too late. But I think just, for anyone who does listen in, we just want, obviously, HibsTalk, all of us individually and as a collective are totally against David Goodwillie being involved in football, I think, at any level, given what he done. And I think we don't really need to go into too much more detail.
No, I completely agree. I think there's people out there who are using the Goodwillie situation and the Mason Greenwood situation for clout. I don't want to be seen as doing that. So, yeah, totally against both of it. But that's as much as I'm really going to say on it.
No, I just thought it was, with that being the big talking point in Scottish football just now, thought it was right that we even just, address it. But, we're not going to go into everything that's happened because it's not a situation for us at HibsTalk to sort of get involved in. But anyway, aye, exactly. However, we are overall Scottish football fans. So, moving on, Tuesday, obviously in the run-up to the game, our group chat was rife with this could be a pump-in if we get away with a draw right now, given the state that we're in. We'll probably be happy. What was before the team was announced, before anything, how were you feeling going into Tuesday's game?
Well, in the days leading up to it, like you say, I thought we were due a pumping, and then see on Tuesday morning when I woke up and I was like, nah, today's the day. Today's the day we turn them over. I went and I hadn't even had a pint yet. Got to the pub and I was telling everyone in the pub, 4-0 Hibs, no bother at all. Miller hat trick. And then, when the team got announced, I was surprised to see Dabrowski in goals.
Well, obviously, I came in with the exclusive. I think I put it in the group chat about 4:30, Macy out.
Yeah, I will. I mean, I didn't reveal my sources, though.
Obviously, can never reveal my sources.
I didn't care what was going on when you were talking about that. I thought someone had a hunch. I was too busy getting pished. And but no, I mean, when I seen that team come out, I thought it's probably, one of the stronger sides that we can put out, and I thought we would have, more than enough to give them a game, which we obviously went and did.
No, I agree. I mean, the team obviously changes 5 in, so Macy, McGinn, Campbell, Mitchell, and Henderson all dropped out. Surprising, probably for Mitchell, given that he scored on Saturday.
I think though, just because I don't think he's match fit.
Yeah. I think there was I was saying it to You know, when when the team got announced, I think there was a game plan to either keep it tight or be on the ascendancy around about the sort of 45, 60 minute, about the 60, 65 minute mark, and then
Yeah.
introduce Mitchell. But we can get on that when we talk about the game. Obviously, changes that were in, so Rocky came back in, so the Joe Newell, Josh Doyle, Chris Mueller, and as we've said, Kevin Dabrowski. Now, Dabrowski's been a contentious one for us for a while. There's been a lot of people saying that he deserves a shot, based on not a lot really, because there's not really been much of him. I know he played well against Arsenal in the pre-season friendly, saved a penalty.
Yeah.
I think he was in goals at Celtic Park at the start of last
The
pre-season as well,
bounce game, aye.
just before the season kicked off again. So I'm not going to lie, when I seen that Dabrowski was in, there was that initial fear, because we've had, you know, we can go through a
You
list
ken
of,
what it looks like with goalies against Hearts.
aye,
It's usually at Tynecastle though.
yeah, I mean, but it tells you that it's happened a lot when they just roll off the tip of your tongue, you know, Macalambi, Zibby, Graham
McNeil.
Smith, Andy McNeil. There's just four. So, aye, how did you feel about seeing Dabrowski in the team?
Well, at first, I wasn't really looking at the group chat to know that Macy was injured. So when I seen that Dabrowski was on the team sheet, it was more shock than anything, mate. I've kind of wanted Dabrowski to get a chance for a wee while now. I don't think Macy is. I think Macy's a good goalie, but it seems like he's pretty untouchable at the moment for Hibs, and I don't really like that. I would rather someone push him, and thankfully Big Kev gets his chance. I don't think I've ever watched him play, in a performance that I can really remember. I wasn't at the Arsenal game, so I couldn't watch him play there. So I was maybe a wee bit sceptical, but I was pleased for him to be getting his chance.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like he's going to be 24 in June, and that's him. 5 years at the club, just making his official first team debut, and it shows you that, with even, sometimes in football you need a bit of luck, and obviously Macy getting injured has given Dabrowski the chance, because we could have easily went for David Mitchell, who's obviously played. He's a lot older than Dabrowski. I don't know he's not played for Hibs, but or he's played in the Premiership, but he has, he's played a lot of games in Scotland. So, fair play to Maloney. That was a tough call he had to make. I suppose the rest of the team almost picks itself. I agree with you in terms of it's probably one of the strongest that we could have put out. Possibly with the exception of maybe Harry Clark, but again, he's not played for us yet, so we don't know exactly how or where he's going to fit in. And obviously, Paul Hanlon's still missing at centre back, meaning Stevenson continued in there. In terms of the start to the game, I thought the build up to the game let the start to the game happen the way it did. Obviously, we had Liam for Retro Video Club on last week, and he told us before we started recording that there was a plan for him to go and do Hibs Heroes before the game, and he was wondering how were they going to pull it off. Were they going to have to do it in the corner, and stretch the sound for the south stand? Was he going to be able to do it on the pitch? Was the whole band going to be there? Was it just going to be him? Would folk even get involved? But I think safe to say that is the only time I have ever heard that song being sung by the crowd. It definitely. I mean, I don't know where it sounded like for where you were, because we almost sit diagonally opposite each other in the ground.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it felt like for where you were, but for where I was, it certainly felt like there was a lot of people joining in with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got a video on my phone that I just showed you, and if you can listen beyond the boos coming from me, it seemed like there was quite a lot of people singing along. So I mean, I was booing him from start to finish, and quite rightly so. I thought he was absolutely rubbish. No, I'm just kidding. No, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people joining in. It's quite rare at Easter Road in the West Stand anyway, where I sit, to get people singing along like that, unless it's Sunshine on Leith after we've beaten Hearts or Rangers or Celtic or whoever. So it was nice to see that, and it was as if it was the crowd were there. Obviously, the crowd were there as a collective for support for the team, but it was as if the people who were sitting around me certainly were there not to just watch it, but to really get behind the team that night, and it was good to see, because I've not really seen an awful lot of that this season.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it must have been some buzz for Liam to have that, the song that they're sort of reworking and hearing, 14, 15,000, because I don't think the ground was that full. It was as full at the time.
Yeah.
Some buzz for him. And even, fair play to him as well, because the Hearts fans were booing the whole time, as well as you. And he never got flustered or put off, and obviously gave them a good get it up you at the end. So I was delighted for him. Then obviously
he's not that kind of guy to get flustered. You know what I mean? He loves it. He loves that sort of stuff. I was talking to him about it yesterday, actually, because I seen the video of him getting up the Hearts fans, and I was he was going through some of the comments that he was getting on Twitter. Like, someone was like, "Oh, who on earth is that?" or stupid things, eh?
Aye.
Talking about his haircut and all that.
Aye.
Oh, he loves it, eh? He absolutely loves it. And Ken, what, I'm well chuffed for him, because it was quality, and I'd love to do something like that, but I just have to resort to sitting and shouting "boo" in the stands.
But it did seem like there was a different feeling to it. That's the first time we've really done anything like that. And then we obviously had Mixu Patalainen coming out and delivering the match ball. I'm not really sure what that was about. I guess it's just a way to get him on the pitch. But, so often in the past, when we've been at Tynecastle, they bring out Paul Hartley or Scatchell or Robertson and that, and give the crowd a wee boost. And obviously the players come out to the fire going off. It just seemed like
seemed like more of a spectacle, didn't it?
We often talk about the Edinburgh Derby being, for us it's the biggest game in football. The rest can have theirs, that's ours, and it seemed like the club definitely wanted to make that more known, in terms of the build,
especially for an neutral fan looking in. If you're sitting watching that, either in the stands or on the telly, not a Hibs or a Hearts fan, then you're thinking, oh, this will be a half decent game. There's fire going off, and you've got all this happening.
A pre-match performance and stuff, yeah, and also
definitely
props to the Block 7 boys. The first couple of weeks we gave them a lot of stick on here, and rightly so. For the chanting that was going on, but the display that they done was excellent. I never even seen the
banner. Gordon.
The banner that was at the bottom because of the fire.
Oh, yeah.
It says "Fight for the Badge."
It looked absolutely brilliant from where I was sitting.
And I mean, we were again sceptical before it, but I mean, they've done a good. When you go back to what they've done at Hampden, that was a great spectacle again on Tuesday night. So they're very quickly bringing themselves back in for the position that they were in at the beginning, obviously with the pyrotechnics and stuff. And then obviously the game kicks off. Like I said, I think the game starts the way the game was built up. I thought
frantically.
Frantic down the right hand side. It looks as if we've got a really good partnership in the making, I think, with Chris Cadden and Chris Muller.
The Chris's, definitely. I think Chris Cadden has been definitely one of the.
Oh, he's been our best player since Maloney came in, I think, by far.
And it's good to see that Chris Muller is, I think, slowly but surely starting to find his feet with the Scottish game. I think it was going to take him a wee while to adapt to it, but like you said, it was a good performance from them in the first half, especially getting down that right hand side. Chris Muller, I think at times looks very, very dangerous. Whether he's completely match fit or not, I don't think he maybe is. So, as soon as he's up to speed and he's got a fully fit Chrissy Cadden, and if we can keep him fit, then that is going to be a dangerous, dangerous partnership on the night.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, Cadden for me, has been our best player, standout player since Maloney came in. He's not the quickest.
I love Cadden,
but he's quite good at getting the ball round an opponent.
Aye.
If it doesn't seem like there's much space in front of him, he does seem to have the ability. Obviously, we've seen it with a chance in the last minute that we'll get to. But, there was a few crosses put in. Obviously, Nisbet was offside, hit the post for what seemed like a yard out. Thankfully for him, it was called offside. But it did seem to be that very, inches. It's nicked away for Doige, or Muller had a couple where it was just, there was maybe a wee bit too much on the ball, or if, there was a couple of instances with Nisbet and Muller where they just took that, and Joe Newell as well, they just took that extra touch.
It was fine margins, wasn't it, Craig?
Aye,
you know what I mean?
So that's saying that we hate to hear.
As Jack Ross liked to say.
Yeah, but do you know what?
It really was, though.
He's right.
In that first half.
I know that obviously the franticness of the half keeps going. Stevenson, Moore and Halliday all booked within the first 20 minutes. And that's where the first real, I suppose, chance for us comes. Halliday fouled Doig, I believe, Moore fouled Doig on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
The ball gets whipped in and it ends up in the back of the net. Now, this was the Halliday free kick on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
It's given offside. I don't get how.
Well, I
think looking along the line, it does seem quite tight. And obviously it comes off Porteous, deflects off Moore and ends up in the back of the net. Now, there was a couple of Hearts hands going up. Craig Gordon's immediate reaction was to turn round almost in despair to get the ball at the net. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a very, very tight decision. But I think you give the officials maybe the benefit of the doubt there, in it, given how tight it was.
I saw a picture on Twitter, and it was someone who had drawn a line across the image, but it was blatantly drawn in a way that makes Porteous onside. But I replied to him saying, "You're an absolute donut," and I sorted the line out and made it parallel with the line of the 18-yard box, and he's offside by about a shoulder and an arm.
Yeah.
So I think it's the right decision. It's a very, very tight call. You've seen them given. You've seen more blatant offsides not given, and end up as goals. So I think it's just one of these things. It's a bit swings and roundabouts, really. With that sort of thing. It's offside, but we'll probably score a goal in the remainder of the season that is miles off, but gets given anyway. So it's a decent call by the officials. It's a shame it never went in. I would have loved Porteous to score against Hearts. I thought that probably would have been
would have loved that.
his dream. But you can't really complain because it is offside, and that's that really.
Well, we go for a contentious decision to one that wasn't given. The ball's played sort of over the top, and Porteous gets his shin on it. Yeah. And it puts Ellis Sims through, and out of nowhere, Lewis Stevenson comes and
like
barges Sims over right away. The Hearts players are appealing for a penalty, and as soon as it happened, the referee waved it off. No, obviously that was pretty much your territory.
Yeah.
So when you seen that happen firsthand, what was your initial thoughts or no?
First thought is, oh, for God's sake, this is their way into the game. I was quite surprised actually when the referee decided not to give it. And I've looked at it back now about 10 times, 12 times, and I just
there's an angle behind the goals that sort of the camera comes through the net. I think that's the most blatant one.
I don't understand how it's not been given.
I
really don't.
The way that Stevenson and Sims collide and the trajectory of the ball after it, I think the ref believes that Stevenson's got his head, that he's got his head on the ball. Because that's the only explanation. Yeah. I don't think you can argue for that
If that
being given.
happens at the opposite end of the
Oh, we
park,
are
we are
roaring for it.
absolutely screaming for
Yeah.
it. You know, I've seen the Hearts fans yesterday, you know, up in arms about the decision and stuff. And you know, as much as I hate Hearts, you know, I completely agree with them. It was a Stonewall penalty, but get it right up them. Basically.
No, exactly. But I think it just goes to show again the ineptness overall of referees in Scotland that
Definitely
a blatant call like that gets missed. Like you can you can appreciate maybe a throw-in being given the other way when it wasn't, or a corner or a by kick, but with something like that, like you know, I heard Robbie Nielsen after the game talking about it, and he said it's incredible how he doesn't call it. But again, like you say, get it up them. It went in our favour for a change.
Aye, and you can, you know, as much as you say, I get up them this, get up them that. You know, it's good, obviously, for us Hibs fans that it wasn't a penalty because probably would have scored it. But you know, in terms of the bigger picture of Scottish football, you know, how often do these mistakes need to be made before them upstairs realise that the officials just are not good enough?
Yeah, something needs to change. Something does need to change. I mean, you know, even like, for example, the Halliday.
You look at the Porteous red card at Ibrox.
Yeah. And then, but even on Tuesday night, the Halliday tackle on Cadden's away.
Yeah.
Like, he's actually away from him, and Halliday's just swung a leg to take him down. Like, I don't understand how that can't be a red card. Because,
yeah, I mean,
and you know, well, I can understand how it's not a red, but when you look, you know, in terms of endangering an opponent or, you know, not playing the ball, he's done both. You know, Cadden's gone, and Halliday's in leg reaching distance of him, and he's just swiped him. So how is that any different from lunging in 2-footed? You're still not going for the ball.
It's the consistency. It's the consistency that you were asking for.
Aye, I suppose it's more I mean, I know those ones are very, very unlikely ever to be given a red, but for me, it's the intent to play the ball. There's no intent to play the ball. His full intent there is to play the man, and you could argue that it's a good foul to make, but I just don't see how fouls like that can. When you look at the furore that results when somebody jumps in 2-footed and doesn't play the man, it doesn't play the ball, plays the man. It could have been a leg breaker. That could have been an arm breaker because Cadden's travelling at pace.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's well. There we go. We've had our moan already. The consistency, shite referees.
Mints.
I know Josh Doig took a bit of a dull one. I thought Doig and Cadden were working really well in the sort of wing back, wide midfield areas in the first half.
Yep.
And it was a blow to see him going off at half time because I felt that the game would have been tailor-made for Dimitri Mitchell in the last, like I was saying before we came on, 20
the last half hour, maybe.
But Mitchell comes on, start the second half, and to be honest, I feel even though Hearts had more possession in the first half, I felt that we were the more threatening going forward.
Yep.
Whereas that sort of flipped in the second half. And that's where we had to call on Dabrowski. You know, 2 to 3 times, a couple of saves from Ellis Sims. He had one, we missed one in the first half for Boyce as well.
Yeah.
It felt like he needed something like that though, especially down that end in front of the Hearts fans, because you know, I know he said after the game that he thrives on instances like that, but he's never done it. So how could he know?
It must be really difficult as a goalie, especially a young goalie. I mean, well, I say young, he's 23, did you say?
Yeah, 23.
I mean, it's still young for a goalkeeper, really, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the top flight. You know, it must be a really odd debut in a derby for a goalie. And I think the save that he made in the first half settles him. I think, and maybe if one of the saves that he has to make in the second half is his first save, you know, he might flap a bit. I don't know, you know.
Because there's one for Sims where he gets down low to his right. I think it's the one where it's sort of clipped over and it's almost like the wind holds it up and Sims
Yeah.
gets in behind Stevenson, which was quite a running theme a few times.
I like that Sims. I think he's a good player.
He's got a touch like a trampoline, but his movements, he's got decent movement. And obviously he gets down and gets a nice strong hand to it as well, and keeps it out of the sort of potential for any onrushing Hearts players. But
he looked a lot more agile than Matt Macey.
Yeah.
Matt Macey seems to go down in installments sometimes, and Big Dabrowski just leapt right down there. I love the kind of saves, when the legs go up in the air and they're getting them for the ground. I love that. But
he tried. I think as well. What he done well is what he kept it simple. He wasn't trying to, muck about with the ball in terms of these saves. He wasn't parrying ones that could be caught. He wasn't catching ones that could be parried. He was, it was very much a case of he's in his head, he's thinking, just keep the ball out.
Aye, do the basics.
Try and do the fancy stuff, exactly. And then we get to that. I suppose the other instances with Dabrowski in that game was the back pass scenario. Now, it's a very, very strange one.
I couldn't see anything from where I was sitting as to what went on.
So again, this was right in front of me, like where I am. So obviously the balls came through and Dabrowski's came out for it, but it's almost like the pace is zipped off the ball, and Bushiri's hit it back to him without a lot of pace on the ball as well. I think if Bushiri hits that, he's still got time to go and catch it. Mm-hmm. No one, I think maybe Woodburn's there as well for a Hearts perspective, but he's not getting anywhere near. Now, obviously, Dabrowski's first instinct is he doesn't know. I don't think it's going in. I think if anything, it would trickle wide. But obviously, his first thought is to get down and get a hand to it. I suppose it's interesting in that isn't a red card.
It's an odd one.
A deliberate handball in the box. I've seen people comment because you're almost denying a clear goal scoring opportunity. But I guess I suppose that a box is
a goalie.
A goalie can handle it. And then obviously the indirect free kick gets lined up. And again, here's another potential penalty decision that the referee makes, where obviously as soon as the ball's laid off, the wall just charges out, and it seems as soon as Cochrane hits it, there's players in front of him. And when you see it, obviously when it happened at the time, as soon as the ball got cleared, Porteous went down holding his face.
And
so we're all thinking, oh yes, Porto can everybody around the boots, like that's Ryan Porteous, he's putting his head where it matters. And then obviously you see the replays and it leathers off Stevenson's hand. First of all, having obviously played football myself, an indirect free kick in the box is probably the hardest place to score a goal.
Aye,
because teams never
everyone charging at you,
but the teams never even seem to learn. If you've got players charging out, have someone wide, play it wide and clip the ball in. It's easier said than done. But for me, I think that one's less clear cut. The ball's really close to him when it's hit.
It's no for me. No for me.
Obviously, he's making that. I know folk have made the argument he's making his body bigger, but in my eyes, in that situation, you're not even thinking about, can I spread myself to handball it? Or, how big can I make myself? You're thinking, how do I stop it? And that's by using your body. And the pace that he goes, from the get-go, as soon as that ball's laid off, he's gone. And he's thrown himself at it.
You're completely right. No, for me either. The handball rule is so ambiguous nowadays, and although they try and make it's if your hand's outside the silhouette or in an unnatural position, you can say that's all well and good, but what constitutes an unnatural position when you're 5 yards away from getting a size 5 mitre football blasted at you?
Exactly.
I think by the time Cochrane hits it, he is about 5 yards away from Stevenson, and the ball will travel at some pace.
Because he's just leathering it. He's just going to welly it and see what happens.
Stevenson's running, so he's running, and then he's kind of turning his body a little bit, hits his hand. It's no for me. I don't think that the Hearts fans were as up in arms about that as they were about the one in the first half.
Yeah.
And I think quite rightly so. I mean, it's no for me, no a penalty. It may be a penalty by the rules of the game, but if I was a referee, I'd be waving it on.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. But it gets to, sort of been a running theme with us over the last few weeks. 82 minutes, we got our first shot on goal. A nicely worked move down the left-hand side, and Ewan Henderson cuts inside. Decent enough strike, but unless you're putting unless you can put a bit more height and direction on it, you're never beating Craig Gordon for there.
Or if you're Rio Hatate.
Aye. And then we get the golden chance, 89th minute. Cadden, again, like what we're seeing earlier on about how he can get the ball around players, he whips it to the back post. Henderson gets there, nods it back across goal. Craig Gordon's in no man's land. Josh Campbell on the penalty spot. And our luck, this would just be our running theme, our luck against Hearts.
Yeah.
Toby Sibbick is on it. If Campbell even puts it a foot to his right,
either side,
it's in. Because Gordon's maybe not going to save it coming, changing direction that quick, and Sibbick isn't going to get. But you can't put the blame on Campbell for that. It's
no way.
That's a snap.
He's a young laddie, and it's 89th minute in the derby. You've got a golden opportunity. You're there, and his thought is, isn't he? I'm going to
just get it on target.
Put this in the corner. He's like, I'm smashing this as hard as I can towards the goal because that's the best chance it going in.
Half volley kind of on his weak foot as well. Yeah. It's a hard one to take.
I think a massive bit of credit for that chance has to go to Ewan Henderson for picking out Campbell with a header.
Yeah.
It would have been so easy for Ewan Henderson to try and get his header on target there, but the composure that he's shown when it's coming over to see Campbell there and nod it across for him, he's in acres of space inside the box, and this is one of the reasons for me that we should have signed Toby Sibbick, because he wouldn't have been there to clear it on Tuesday night. But no, I think that was testament to how the game had went. I think both teams putting their bodies on the line when it mattered.
Yeah.
If that happens at the other end, you're all over Toby Sibbick for that. If he's in a Hibs shirt, clearing that off.
You're celebrating that like a goal almost if that happens.
And he did. And to be honest, I'd be buzzing if it was a Hibs player that had done that. Just testament to, I think, how the game went. I don't think either team really deserved to win it, but that was the chance to win it if there was a chance.
I think clear-cut chances. Obviously, Hearts made Dabrowski make a couple of saves, but I don't think it was.
There weren't any game-winning chances.
It wasn't an instance where you think that the attacker's got the advantage here. Like a one-on-one right in front of the goalie.
Yeah.
Then obviously we have that one with Campbell at the end. So I think, on reflection, with the way that it's one of the old sayings, a game of two halves. I think we were the better in the first half. You could argue they were better in the second half, but I do think on reflection, a draw was a fair result. But I just feel like
I think so.
Like I don't know what your overall thoughts on the individually and collective performances are, but I don't think you could have any of the starting 11 anyway. I don't think you could have given them anything less than a 7 out of 10. I thought back to front.
I mean, usually in these kind of games there's a passenger, but I don't feel anyone really was a passenger. I thought Neil had a great game.
I think that was Neil's best game for us.
Yeah,
I thought he was excellent.
And I even think the subs were well made as well. I think the subs were made to win the game.
Apart from Muller for right, that one didn't make sense.
I think Muller's knackered, eh?
Aye, but we've got we've got this youngster on loan for Fulham, Sylvester Jasper, who, or Jasper Sylvester, sorry, I've probably got his name.
Sylvester Jasper.
I've got his name the wrong way.
You got it right the first time.
Aye, two first names. That one always confuses you.
Did you trust them?
Aye. But I mean, he's a total wild card option. Throw him on, see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I
think more for the point of view that a lot of Hibs fans are starting to think that and for me anyway, Dre Wright must be like Messi in training, because we don't see when he comes on what Maloney must see on the training pitch.
No,
because he wasn't on the ball a great amount either.
I don't even know what Dre Wright's best position on the park is. It's not me being nasty. I don't think he's good enough to play for Hibs, and he must be a nice guy, because neither Jack Ross or Sean Maloney wants to get rid of him.
I felt like in terms of the overall performance, obviously noted what Maloney said after the game, that it did feel like there was a connection between the support and the players.
Yeah, I thought so as well.
Anytime, Nisbet has been given a lot of stick recently, I believe some of it rightly so, but I felt that last night he's almost guilty of trying too hard. Like there was a couple of dribbles that he had at the defence where he beat the man and he could have played in Cadden or Muller and he just maybe took an extra touch.
He's desperate for a goal against Hearts.
When he's shooting as well, he doesn't seem to have a lot of he seems to be trying to place it. There doesn't seem to be a lot of power in his shots.
I just think Nizzy just needs a few games where he's scoring goals, and then that confidence will come back.
Came in and he couldn't do anything. And that game against St Johnstone where he got his hat trick, and two of them were absolute sniders.
Yeah.
But it's the sniders that get you the confidence again.
As soon as he gets the feeling consistently then putting the ball in the back of the net, that confidence will come back and we'll see the Kevin Nisbet that we saw when we signed him.
Yeah.
At the early parts of last season.
Mm-hmm.
It's, for me, I like Nisbet. I think, and I'm not shy to say that I think definitely a lot of the criticism that he's been getting and the hate that he's been getting, I think I touched on this last week, that he's been getting is completely unwarranted.
Yeah.
He tries his best for the side. He's low on confidence. He's not had a good run where he's been scoring goals consistently for a long time. That's what he needs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if hopefully it'll start against St Mirren on Saturday. And like you say, a tap-in's all you need. Get a couple of tap-ins, and then the goals will start to come back, and people will start to love him again.
I do think his work rate has improved.
I think his work rate's always been there, mate.
No, there was one of the games a few weeks ago, where he just looked. It might have been before Jack Ross left or just after, but there was a game where he just looked so disinterested. And I know he was carrying a lot of the burden because of Doidge being injured and the club's failure to bring in another striker in the transfer window. But I agree with you 100%. I think once he gets that one, I reckon he'll go on that run like he did last season, where he seemed to have like double figures within the space of a month or two.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope it starts on Saturday.
It was given the fears that a lot of us had before the game. Obviously, you didn't want to celebrate getting a draw against Hearts, but on reflection, it's a point more than what we had, and obviously it takes us nicely into St Mirren on Saturday. St Mirren obviously coming to Easter Road. 2 games we've had against them this season have been poor from our perspective. Obviously, the 2 games that we've had, we've been in the lead and then conceded to a sort of 88th and then 90th minute equaliser, both by the same player, Joe Shaughnessy. So
you're hoping he's injured on Saturday, or suspended or something.
Exactly, but I mean they've had a nice wee upturn in form themselves. They're unbeaten in the last 4, including the cup, 3 wins, beating Dundee United and Aberdeen. But I suppose what's on our side is that we've not lost to them in 13. So that'll be a run that we're wanting to keep going on Saturday.
100%. I think for a lot of those 13 games, when you see St Mirren coming up on the fixture list, you're thinking, that's probably an easy win. When, with all due respect to St Mirren, but I don't feel like that this time because Goodwin how long Goodwin been there for now? Is that his second season in charge?
No, I think it's longer than that. It's been a good 2-3 years now, I think.
Because I think St Mirren under Goodwin, I think, are now coming to a point where they're getting quite decent, and they can, like we've seen with them, they've beaten Aberdeen. They've beaten Aberdeen twice this season, I think, haven't they?
I think so, yeah.
Like they're no mugs. They really aren't no mugs, and it's, credit where it's due to Jim Goodwin. With the players that he brings in and the players that go out, he's seemed to keep a core of pretty decent players there that can make up a half decent side.
Well, and he goes out and he signed Jordan Jones.
Exactly.
On deadline day, obviously Gogic won't be able to play because he's on loan.
You look at that.
You could imagine Gogic would turn into like prime Beckenbauer or Makalele
Yeah,
against us. It's guaranteed to happen.
it happens all the time. But
Aye,
like you're saying, McGrath goes, but then they bring in Jordan Jones, and I know obviously kind of played by Alec Gogic, and when they replace their quality with similar quality, and it keeps them ticking over and ticking
yeah,
over and ticking over. And they're starting to find their feet a little bit more and play a little bit better. I'm sure the St Mirren fans would, agree with me that I think this season has been, and I think last season as well, they were pushing for top six. I think they just missed out.
yeah. No, they
Um,
did on that. I'm sure it was the game before the split they missed out. I mean,
yeah,
they're sitting ninth in the table. They're now 26 points for 23
they
games.
got to a cup final last season as well. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
six clear of the relegation zone as well.
for a team that used to be, when they came to Easter Road, just sat down on their arse by Hibs. They're definitely not that anymore. And I
Yeah,
think we've got to respect that. I think Sean Maloney definitely will respect it. And I think we'll need to be at our best to beat them.
no, I 100% agree. Especially, we're now looking at 4 league games without a win. Obviously, we've had Celtic and Hearts in that period. Disappointing result against St Johnstone on Saturday. Against Livingston Saturday previous to go with it. So no, we do need a big win, I think. And like Maloney says, that it's the difficulty, I believe, now for us, and this is one of the questions that came in for us, is that sort of level of performance that they put in on Tuesday. Now the intensity is not going to be there from the crowd on Saturday. That's just a guarantee. But the players need to try and match the level of intensity that they showed on Tuesday night, because that'll get supporters back on side.
Yeah, I think that's difficult though when you're not getting a similar backing from the stands.
Aye, I agree.
I saw a tweet yesterday, and it said, with such a wonderful support on Tuesday night, it's going to be back to 11, 12,000 on Saturday, and people need to start going to these games against your St Mirrens, Livingstons, and
Yeah.
the games that are, I don't want to say lesser games, because
No, but they are though.
the,
Like
it's
it's not being
it's less
disrespectful to them,
important to
but
a casual fan. Less
yeah,
important to a casual fan than a Celtic, Rangers, Hearts,
aye,
arguably Aberdeen. But there's no easy games in this league, and these players are clearly showing that they need the most amount of support that they can get, and that comes from the backing from the stands. And if we're only getting 11,000, 12,000, pushing maybe 14k if we're playing in Aberdeen, it's just not good enough, really. I mean,
yeah.
we like to say that we're a big team, but we can't bring that same big team crowds to home games, like Hearts do.
Aye. No, I agree. And I think looking at the famous five last night as well wasn't great, seeing the Tuesday night, seeing the patches of seats. I suppose we could maybe pick that up for another podcast talking about that. But I think predictions, what we're going to go prediction wise for Saturday, we're never going to go for anything, I suppose, other than a Hibs win.
Hibs win.
Especially with them losing McGrath, I think that'll take them a while to go over. I know Jordan Jones has came in, but they're no.
It's a different kind of player, isn't it? McGrath's a central, creative. They're very, very difficult to replace. As we know.
Yep.
That it's not easy to replace these players, regardless of if they would fit into anyone else in the Premiership. If they're a good player for you, they're very, very difficult to replace.
Aye.
So
I guess for us it'll be how we cope with Jones, because Hearts, we sort of played a similar system to Hearts on Tuesday night, and it was almost two, in the wide midfield areas, it was two fullbacks going against two fullbacks. Whereas this will obviously Jordan Jones is an out and out winger.
As a winger, right?
So no, it'll be interesting. I don't think we should be looking at anything other than a Hibs win though. Like Maloney was saying on Tuesday night, I do believe that there's going to come a time where these crosses are going to just have an inch taken off from it. Yeah, and while the football might not be amazing for the amount of pressure that we put on the opposition box, I do feel at some point we're going to give somebody a doing.
I don't think it's going to be started at all.
hopefully it is. So I'm going to be very, very positive this week, and I'm going to go for 3-0. Chrissy Muller to get his first goal for Hibs in the process.
I'm going to go 1-0 and Chris Muller to get his first goal for Hibs.
What I loved, right? I loved it on Tuesday night as well when he came over to, show for the short corner or something happened. USA. Like,
brilliant.
That's what, players like him need though, coming over, seeing that he's got the backing of the support, obviously the cheer that Dimitri Mitchell got when he came on as well.
Yeah.
The sort of claps of encouragement for Nisbet rather than the sort of moans of derision when he was doing something wrong. So no, I think this is, St Mirren should be the start of us looking to sort of go on a wee bit of a run, trying to pick up as many points as we possibly can. Obviously, we're 12 behind Hearts. It's going to be a tall order to catch them. We've got St Mirren Saturday, then we're away to Ibrox.
The good thing for us though,
we've not really got a run of easy, not easy games. Sorry, but we've got St Mirren at home, Rangers away. Then we've got Arbroath in the Cup. Then we've got Ross County at home, Celtic at home, Dundee away, St Johnstone at home.
Yeah, there's not really a chance for us to really gain any sort of real momentum there.
Yeah.
I don't think it's always. I mean, you can, you don't want to take for granted that you'll pick up 3 points against your St Mirren's, Ross Counties and stuff like that. But if we're playing Rangers, Celtic, and whoever in between these games, these are the games that we need to pick up points, because if you take for granted that we're not going to pick up full points against Celtic and Rangers, these points need to be picked up elsewhere. Exactly. But the good thing for us being 12 points behind Hearts is that we'll play them twice before the end of the year.
Yeah,
and that's
well, they've got Rangers and they've got Rangers at the weekend, so it's a chance for us to start clawing back that deficit. Anyway.
Yeah, well, that'll be an easy win for the Jambos with the way that Rangers played last night. Anyway,
honking, mincing tatties is some player, eh?
He's so good, like he is unreal.
As much as we hate to say it, you can only sort of, when you see a decent player, you need to doff your cap and say,
yeah,
well done.
Exactly.
It's always nice to see the Huns get a slap too, regardless of who it's from.
And just quickly before we wrap this up, Craig, do you want to go through some listener questions? I've got some here for you. So we've only got a couple this week. Callum asks, Griffiths as a striker option, yes or no?
No.
Nah, no take him on a pay-as-you-play till the end of the season?
No way, no. No.
I need a striker though, Craig.
I don't care. Mate, and do you know what, right? This has nothing to do with any of the off-field stuff. This is to do with the on-field stuff. No.
Fair enough. Callum also asks, he's asked 3 questions this week actually. He's very keen for us to talk about them. Does Tuesday's decent performance make the last couple even more frustrating? Is that the team starting to click, or is it the usual bigger performance for a big game? I think for me that is, we'll be able to know the answer to that
on Saturday.
4:45 on Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't think it makes the last ones more frustrating. You're always, I don't know what to say. It's a big performance for a big game, but you're always going to get a higher level of performance going into these games against Hearts. And we didn't roll out the Mixu Pat Linens and the Liam Allisons and the fire for St Mirren at home.
Exactly.
It just is what it is. Finally, from Callum, are Hibs now trying to underplay the signings of? This is another signing that we made. The Belgian boy. I'm going to absolutely butcher his name here. Del Ferrier.
There's the other guy, the American guy that was signed as well.
The American guy, Johnson, the Norwegian Hauge, and he's put Melkerson here as well.
Yeah.
In particular, not too much pressure is put on them, or would you expect to see them in the first team soon? I think Melkerson.
I would, based on the outlay, I would expect to see Melkerson in the
I think
first
Melkerson,
team.
yeah.
Del Ferry, I think he's the end of the season anyway. So
aye.
Staying on loan at his current club that he's at. But no, Melkerson 100%, possibly Hauge as well. Because if they,
I
don't know, why are we signing 20-year-olds for the development team? Like,
Yeah,
you sign maybe
I think
17, 18-year-olds that are too good for the 18s, but aren't good enough for the first team.
I think for
It
me
depends how this sort of game schedule is going to work, I think.
I think the game plan here is to get these guys who have never played in Scotland or the UK in at a young age into the development squad, so they can you can only get so much from playing in the development squad, but they're then more accustomed to a Scottish game when they get into the first team. That's the only reason that I can think. On that, Billy asks, are we winning the league in 2025 when the development signings break through? Also, thoughts on us signing all these players for the development squad and not for the first team. We just touched on that a wee bit there, but winning the league 2025.
Haaland, not Haaland. Melkerson will be absolutely fine.
Haaland regen.
Yep, exactly. Haaland regen.
And finally, Scott Patterson asks, based on a much improved performance against Hearts and hopefully having some of our hopefully getting some of our new signings more minutes, have you reviewed your forecast for your end of season league position? Personally, think fourth is the best that we can achieve, which I would take after the Livingston performance.
I would probably.
I think
agree.
we can get third. If we hit a good run of form. Hearts have got to hit a poor run of form, though.
Yeah, but I don't see that happening with Craig Gordon in goals. He's just
gets injured or something.
Aye, it has to, because he's just, again, like what we were saying just there about Hatate, you need to take your hat off. Like, Gordon is by far the best keeper in the league. So I think absolutely. fourth and a decent run in the Scottish. I think.
Be happy with that, because fourth will get us Europe.
Yeah, get us the hand in again.
Nice one. That's all the questions.
Anyway, we'll finish up. There. I think, again, when you see some of the quotes and comments for Kevin Dabrowski in his post-match interview, and even what he's came out saying today, that I love Hibs. This is my second home. Being able to make my debut for such a big club. He can say the right things anyway, so I think there'll be a bit of an inquest if Macy somehow finds himself back in the sticks. But
I think so.
Right now, on his performance, Dabrowski deserves to keep the gloves. So hopefully
100%.
He's still in goals, and hopefully he plays another 4 games purely so Stephen
loses 50 quid.
50 quid. But Gav and the boys will be back over the course of the weekend to discuss the St.Mirren game and look to review the Rangers game. Myself and Liam will be back next Thursday with a wee review of the Rangers game, looking ahead to the Cup game coming up
and the Super Bowl.
And the Super Bowl, yeah. Also, if you haven't heard it yet, Gav and Stuart done an interview with Colin Leslie, who's the author of Bestie to Beastie to Belgium, which is a book about following Hibs sort of in the 70s, 80s period. So if you've not heard that, go and check it out, and go and check out Colin's book. Give us a follow on our normal social media channels at HFC Talk on Twitter and Instagram. Facebook, we are HibsTalk, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts to make sure you get them when they're uploaded. But that'll do us for this week, Liam. Thanks for joining me, mate.
Well, thanks for having me, Craig. Means a lot, mate.
You're very, very welcome, and we'll see you all next week. Cheers.
See you later.